Hello everyone. You are listening to this audiobook on channel Voice for Purpose by NSS IT Bombay.
The Man and His Wife. A man had a wife who made herself hated by all the members of his household. Wishing to find out if she had the same effect on the persons in her father's house, he made some excuse to send her home on a visit to her father. After a short time, she returned, and when he inquired how she had got on and how the servants had treated her, she replied, "The herdsmen and shepherds cast on me looks of aversion," he said. "O wife, if you were disliked by those who go out early in the morning with their flocks and return late in the evening, what must have felt towards you by those with whom you pass the entire day? Straws show how the wind blows." The Kingdom of the Lion. The beasts of the field and forest had a lion as their king. He was neither wrathful, cruel, nor tyrannical, but just and gentle as a king could be. During his reign, he made a royal proclamation for a general assembly of all the birds and beasts, and drew up conditions for a universal league in which the wolf and the lamb, the panther and the kid, the tiger and the stag, the dog and the hare should live together in perfect peace and amity. The hare said, "Oh, how I have longed to see this day in which the weak shall take their place with impunity by the side of the strong." And after the hare said this, he ran for his life. The Laborer and the Snake. A snake, having made his hole close to the porch of a cottage, inflicted a moral bite on the cottager's infant son. Grieving over his loss, the father resolved to kill the snake. The next day, when it came out of his hole for food, he took up his axe, but by swinging too hastily, missed its head and cut off only the end of its tail. After some time, the cottager, afraid that the snake would bite him also, endeavored to make peace, and placed some bread and salt in the hole. The snake, slightly hissing, said, "There can henceforth be no peace between us, for whenever I see you, I shall remember the loss of my tail. And whenever you see me, you will be thinking of the death of your son." No one truly forgets injuries in the presence of him who caused the injury. The Lion and the Statue. A man and a lion were discussing the relative strength of men and lions in general. The man contended that he and his fellows were stronger than lions by reason of their greater intelligence. "Come now with me," he cried, "and I will soon prove that I am right." So he took him into the public gardens and showed him a statue of Hercules overcoming the lion and tearing his mouth in two. "That is all very well," said the lion, "but it proves nothing, for it was a man who made the statue." People can easily represent things as they wish them to be, but they may not be true. The Lion's Share. The lion went once hunting along with the fox, the jackal, and the wolf. They hunted and they hunted, till at last they surprised a stag and soon took its life. Then came the question of how the spoil should be divided. "Quarter me the stag," roared the lion. So the other animals skinned it and cut it into 4 parts. Then the lion took his stand in front of the carcass and pronounced judgment. "The first quarter is for me in my capacity as king of beasts. The second is mine as arbiter. Another share comes to me for my part in the chase. And as for the fourth quarter, well, as for that, I should like to see which of you will dare to lay a paw upon it." Grumbled the fox as he walked away with his tail between his legs. But he spoke in a low growl. "You may share the labours of the great, but you will never share the spoil." The mischievous dog. A dog used to run up quietly to the heels of everyone he met and then bite them without notice. His master suspended a bell about his neck so that the dog might give notice of his presence wherever he went. Thinking of it as a mark of distinction, the dog grew proud of his bell and went tinkling it all over the marketplace. One day, an old hound said to him, "Why do you make such an exhibition of yourself? The bell that you carry is not, believe me, any order of merit, but on the contrary, it is a mark of disgrace, a public notice to all men to avoid you as an ill-mannered dog. Notoriety is often mistaken for fame." The monkey and the camel. The beasts of the forest gave a splendid entertainment, at which the monkey stood up and danced. Having vastly delighted the assembly, he sat down amidst universal applause. The camel, envious of the praises bestowed on the monkey, and desiring to divert to himself the favour of the guests, proposed to stand up in his turn and dance for their amusement. He moved about in so utterly ridiculous a manner that the beasts, in a fit of indignation, set upon him with clubs and drove him out of the assembly. It is absurd to ape our betters. The mountains in labour. One day, the countrymen noticed that the mountains were in labour. Smoke came out of their summits, the earth was quaking at their feet, trees were crashing, and huge rocks were tumbling. They felt sure that something horrible was going to happen. They all gathered together in one place to see what terrible thing this could be. They waited and they waited, but nothing came. At last, there was a still more violent earthquake, and a huge gap appeared in the side of the mountains. They all fell down upon their knees and waited. At last, a teeny, tiny mouse poked its little head and bristles out of the gap and came running down towards them. And ever after they used to say, "Much outcry, little outcome." The monkey and the fisherman. A monkey perched upon a lofty tree and saw some fishermen casting their nets into a river, and he narrowly watched their proceedings. The fishermen, after a while, gave up fishing and on going home to dinner, left their nets upon the bank. The monkey, which is the most imitative of animals, descended from the treetop and endeavored to do as they had done. Having handled the net, he threw it into the river, but became tangled in the meshes and drowned. With his last breath, he said to himself, "I am rightly served. For what business had I, who had never handled a net, to try and catch fish?" The North Wind and the Sun. The North Wind and the Sun disputed as to which was the most powerful, and agreed that he should be declared the victor who could first strip a wayfaring man of his clothes. The North Wind first tried his power and blew with all his might. But the keener his blasts, the closer the traveller wrapped his cloak around him, until at last, resigning all hope of victory, the wind called upon the sun to see what he could do. The sun suddenly shone out with all his warmth. The traveller no sooner felt his genial rays than he took off one garment after another, and at last, fairly overcome with heat, undressed and bathed in a stream that lay in his path. Persuasion is better than force. The Old Man and Death. An old labourer, bent double with age and toil, was gathering sticks in a forest. At last, he grew so tired and hopeless that he threw down the bundle of sticks and cried out, "I cannot bear this life any longer. Ah, I wish death would only come and take me." As he spoke, Death, a grisly skeleton, appeared and said to him, "What would thou, mortal? I heard thee call me." "Please, sir," replied the woodcutter, "would you kindly help me to lift this faggot of sticks onto my shoulder? We would often be sorry if our wishes were gratified." The Olive Tree and the Fig Tree. The olive tree ridiculed the fig tree because, while she was green all the year around, the fig tree changed its leaves with the seasons. A shower of snow fell upon them, and finding the olive full of foliage, it settled upon its branches and broke them down with its weight, at once despoiling it of its beauty and killing the tree. But finding the fig tree denuded of leaves, the snow fell through to the ground and did not injure it at all. The Oxen and the Butchers. The oxen once upon a time sought to destroy the butchers, who practiced a trade destructive to their race. They assembled on a certain day to carry out their purpose, and sharpened their horns for the contest. But one of them, who was exceedingly old, for many a field he had ploughed, thus spoke, "These butchers, it is true, slaughter us, but they do so with skilful hands and with no unnecessary pain. If we get rid of them, we shall fall into the hands of unskilled operators and thus suffer a double death. For you may be assured that though all the butchers should perish, yet will men never want beef. Do not be in a hurry to change one evil for another. The peasant and the apple tree. A peasant had in his garden an apple tree which bore no fruit but only served as a harbour for the sparrows and grasshoppers. He resolved to cut it down, and taking his axe in his hand, made a bold stroke at its roots. The grasshoppers and sparrows entreated him not to cut down the tree that sheltered them, but to spare it, and they, in return, would sing to him and lighten his labours. He paid no attention to their request, but gave the tree a second and a third blow with his axe. When he reached the hollow of the tree, he found a hive full of honey. Having tasted the honey, he threw down his axe, and looking on the tree as sacred, he took great care of it. Self-interest alone moves certain men. The prophet. A wizard, sitting in the marketplace, was telling the fortunes of the passer-bys when a person ran up in great haste and announced to him that the doors of his house had been broken open and that all his goods were being stolen. He sighed heavily and hastened away as fast as he could. A neighbour saw him running and said, "Oh, you fellow there! You say you can foretell the fortunes of others, and how is it you did not foresee your own?" The Man and the Lion. A man and a lion travelled together through the forest. They soon began to boast of their respective superiority to each other in strength and prowess. As they were disputing, they passed a statue carved in stone, which represented a lion strangled by a man. The traveller pointed to it and said, "See there, how strong we are, and how we prevail over even the king of beasts." The lion replied, "This statue was made by one of you men. If we lions knew how to erect statues, you would see the man placed under the paw of the lion." One story is good till another is told. The Lost Wig. A funny old lion who had the misfortune to lose his mane was wearing a wig as he was taking a stroll on a very windy day. Looking up, he spied one of the charming tiger sisters across the street and, wishing to make an impression, smiled blandly and made a beautiful low bow. At that moment, a very smart gust of wind came up, and the consequences was that his wig flew off and left him there, feeling foolish and looking worst, with his bald head glistening like a billiard ball. Though somewhat embarrassed at first, he smiled at the lady and said, "Is it a wonder that another fellow's hair shouldn't keep on my head when my own wouldn't stay there?" Wit always has an answer ready. The Apes and the travelers. Two men, one who always spoke the truth, and the other one who told nothing but lies, were traveling together, and by chance came to the land of apes. One of the apes, who had raised himself to be king, commanded them to be seized and brought before him, so that he might know what was said of him among men. He ordered at the same time that all the apes be arranged in a long row on his right hand and on his left, and that a throne be placed for him, as was the custom among men. After these preparations, he signified that the two men should be brought before him, and greeted them with these salutations. What sort of a king do I seem to you, O strangers? The lying traveller replied, You seem to me a most mighty king. And what is your estimate of those you see around me? These, he made answer, are worthy companions of yourself, fit at least to be ambassadors and leaders of armies. The ape and all his court, gratified with the lie, commanded that a handsome present be given to the flatterer. On this, the truthful traveller thought to himself, If so great a reward be given for a lie, with what gift may not I be rewarded, if according to my custom I tell the truth? The ape quickly turned to him and asked, And pray, how do I and these my friends around me seem to you? Thou art, he said, a most excellent ape, and all these companions are excellent apes too. The king of the apes, enraged at hearing these truths, gave him over to the teeth and claws of his companions.
So hope you guys had fun. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel for more interesting audiobooks.